2 hours ago, Kyle arrived at the bar.
Hey, what's everyone drinking?
30 minutes ago, Kyle got his friends another round of drinks.
Cheers!
5 minutes ago, Kyle decided to drive home drunk. A minute ago, a law enforcement officer pulled up behind Kyle.
Sir, have you been drinking tonight?
A chain of events that began 2 hours ago is about to change Kyle's whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham. I'm back on the pod, joined tonight by the illustrious interviewer himself, Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, thank you so much for leading the charge with Minda. That was a really good conversation between the two of you.
Man, you threw me a curveball. I was not prepared to be the point guy on that discussion.
I did. I forget what it was. I forget what happened, but yeah,
you were sick. You were still sick.
That's right, with my voice. And yeah, just to your credit, you shifted like it was no problem. You lived up to your illustrious nickname.
I gave myself a different nickname. I forgot what it was.
I forget what it was too, but yeah, you threw a curveball on yourself and on our listeners.
Yeah, I was like, I don't feel like I can call myself illustrious, so I'll call myself something else. But it was also like pretty egotistical of me, I'm pretty sure.
We all got to be confident in ourselves. So, hey, folks, we're recording this on December 29th. A lot of things have been very quiet since, the Monday before Christmas. Not a whole lot has been happening on the MLB front as a whole, much less the Royals front. But we do have some Royals-related things to talk about this episode. The stadium situation, Vinnie Pasquantino talking about an extension. And we're going to circle back to something we've been meaning to talk about for a long time that is going to impact the Royals' bats. So stay tuned for that. But before we get too deep in the episode, as always, a reminder to go bookmark royalsreview.com. I'm already thinking about what am I going to put in the rumblings for Wednesday morning because things have been so light lately. So I got to figure that out. But if you want to know where all the Royals news is every single morning, it's in the Royals rumblings, and those are only up at royalsreview.com. All right, Jeremy. So I want to start off with this, courtesy of the KC Royals subreddit. If you're on Reddit and not following that community, what are you doing? You need to go add that to your list. Vinnie Pasquantino has been pretty active on social media this offseason. It's been nice. He's a great character. I love hearing more and more from him. But in an exchange with a fan on Twitter, he did talk about getting an extension done with the Kansas City Royals. And Jeremy, you pointed this out, so I don't want to steal your thunder, but he did not sound too optimistic about a deal getting done.
No, let me just open this up real quick so I make sure I don't misquote him. But basically, the idea was that he's like, well, I'm not going to get paid based on my stuff. 0.5 WAR corner doesn't get an extension. Got to keep working. And they said, well, they gotta. Why does WAR hate on first baseman? And Vinny came back and said, WAR doesn't hate first baseman. I just wasn't good enough last year. So you love to see a player not blaming advanced statistics and being like, no, these advanced statistics are persistent for a reason, and I've got to do better. He says he wants to work on playing better defense, hitting running the bases, and have a better OPS. WAR, however I'm going to pronounce it today, isn't out to get him. So yeah, he's right. You don't usually give a guy because two WAR or WAR, however, I haven't decided. I'll let you know if I pick up a pronunciation. Is considered starter. So 1.5 is a little bit below what you would consider starter. Now, I look at Vinny and I say, oh, he's a starter. And, obviously there's the 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. That's a pretty big deal. Even in a world where RBIs aren't the be all end all of run production as they kind of were, as recently as like the 90s. When you get over 100, that means something, as I wrote about last year. 30 home runs, pretty big deal. And it's not empty home runs like you'll see with some guys. He had a little bit of OBP. Now he could stand to chase a little bit less, and we've seen him chase less in the past. So I do believe there's still another gear there. And if he can get up to a 2.5 to 3 WAR guy with some more walks, improve. I don't think his defense was that bad, but all the defensive metrics tell me I'm wrong. So if he can he's definitely better than when he came up. So he keeps working on that. Gets that OBP up a little bit, he could become an extension candidate next off season.
Yeah, absolutely so. And I think this is a great example of, I'm not saying that Vinny is being self aware because of war. I think he's just being self aware of where he can grow in his game right now. And that's, Vinnie Pasquantino, he's not the guy that you think is going to be a base stealing threat. He wasn't a glove first guy coming up through the system. Like, he was an 11th round pick for a reason. He was not a perfect baseball player. And to his credit, I think his work ethic and his present talent at the plate has carried him to where he is now in the MLB. I think if he wants to take that next step, that's where he needs to elevate into more of a well rounded player. In regards to war, though, I will say this, because usually when we're referring to war, we refer to Fangraphs' formula. The other notable formula out there is B-WAR, the baseball reference, developed by someone over at baseballprojections.com. I'm blanking on their name. But two very different formulas, and I think the results from 2025 showcase that, because if you look at them side by side from 2022 to 2024, they're pretty close between the two sites. 2025, massive difference. Fangraphs has them at a 1.5 FWAR. Baseball Reference has them at a 2.4 BWAR. Like, that's a big difference in that scale. And I think that puts him at that starter level that our eye test says Vinny Pasquantino is this. He's just a bat first guy.
Yeah, and you can always go plus or minus half a win for a full season easily. That's an error bar that's reasonable. So, they can meet in the middle there at 2, and that's kind of a starter level. I am curious. I'm trying to see now what's his OWAR over on Baseball Reference.
Well, let's
It
see here. Go ahead.
I know here it is. It's 2.5. So it also hates his defense.
Yes, it does.
His DWAR is negative 1.1. So how does he end up at 2.4? If his
I don't know.
OWAR is 2.5 and his DWAR is negative 1.1. I'm not sure how that maths, but yeah, so everybody hates his defense. I don't get it. The metrics have always hated his defense. It doesn't look like the metrics rate his defense any more highly, but I promise you, my eye test tells me he was a pretty good first baseman last year.
The number one, we're still trying to figure out perfect defensive metrics
That's true.
right now. It is, we constantly cite outs above average, especially defensive run saves, stuff like that. But there's so many different ones to choose from because there is no one perfect one.
Well,
And I
and
think that go ahead.
a highlight of that is Bobby Witt Jr., which some stats are like he's the best in the sport, and other stats are like, I don't know, he's mediocre, I guess.
Right, right. And I think that the lack of perfect statistics applies doubly to first baseman and we've started to see the emergence of scoops. That's been something that's been talked about a lot in baseball. Is where, that's where first baseman can make their money on getting outs or not, is when they collect these errant throws from infielders. So that's really getting into the weeds on it. But I agree with you, Jeremy. And I think most Royals fans would agree with you that Vinny isn't a perfect fielder, but golly, he's pretty adequate, I would say, out there in first
Look
base.
for him to get gold glove votes or points, and obviously that didn't end up happening. You talk about how the defensive stats don't agree. The one thing they do agree on is Vinny's not good. I don't know why. I don't know why all the
Yeah.
defensive stats agree on that, but they do. So he didn't get any Gold Glove thoughts. I look forward to seeing how he can improve over there. I fully believe that defense is not holding him back at first base. And the one thing I will say is that even if the Royals don't extend Vinny, I do believe that the team likes him. And so even if he finishes out this contract, that doesn't mean he's gone. It just means the Royals, offer him 1 or 2 years. And unless someone else is willing to give him a lot of money to go play for them, and if someone else wants to give him a lot of money, then he's done something to deserve that much money, and in which case the Royals would probably try and match that. These are not the David Glass Royals. John Sherman has shown a willingness to be kinder to his players and to keep some guys around. So I don't think Vinny's going anywhere. I just think he's maybe not getting contract guarantees, at least not yet. That could change at any moment, but I do believe he could. It would 100. I've got 80% certainty that he will be a Royal for life.
Yeah.
Maybe a year or two at the very end, and the Royals are like, well, we got to move Jack over there, and he's hitting, and you're like 33, 34. We don't really have room for you, Vinny. Like that kind of situation. But otherwise, I expect him to be around for, forever.
Yeah. He's under team control through the 2028 season. So this is something that is a talking point. I just don't think it's something that Royals fans should focus on or be really worried about just quite yet. Vinny still has a lot of time to take that next step forward, and the Royals still have a lot of time to say, we think you will take that next step forward. Here's the
And
more
he's not old.
Nope.
And the way that he works, I would believe he can hit into his mid to late 30s.
I agree with that. I do. Just with how I think that's a great point. So if you disagree with that, if you disagree with Vinny, you think he's worthy of an extension, let us know on social media. I would love to have a little bit of a conversation about that. I just don't think it's something that Royals fans should wrap themselves around the axle too much on.
Now, would I love it if the Royals would just go ahead and pay Vinny? Yes, because I root for players and I always want players to get paid. But I understand if you look at it, if you take fandom out of it and you look at it from a purely business perspective, which I don't really recommend you do, but if you do that, it makes sense that why they're not extending him.
Yeah, precisely. If you didn't believe how slow the Royals news wheel is right now, we'd love talking about Annie Rogers on here. I mean, Annie Rogers is still just talking about stuff from the winter meetings, talking about Jonathan Indy and stuff like that. So if you need some new, fresh Royals-related things to read about, I highly suggest you go check out royalsreview.com.
Drinking and driving is a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI, because legal fees and time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that'll change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
O'Reilly! You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
We're going to talk about something here in a little bit that is, Jeremy says he's going to talk about that impacts the Royals batter. So I'm interested to see what your analysis comes out to be from that. The reason why
which topic comes next. You're like, Jeremy's got something to say. I'm like, I do? Huh?
Well, it's not quite yet, not quite yet, because I do want to talk about this. So since last time we talked, we got stadium news in the form of the Kansas City Chiefs crossing the state line, going from Missouri to Kansas. I am glad that I am kind of glad that we weren't podcasting in the throes of that, because golly, it was a pretty toxic response from some sports fans out there.
So full disclosure, I almost said full exposure. That's a different thing entirely.
Whoa.
Full disclosure, I don't live in Kansas City. Haven't been to Kansas City in 20 years almost. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter which side of the state line either team is on. It doesn't. If they moved to Alaska, I would still probably keep rooting. Like, it wouldn't affect my ability to root for them. Other than, boy, howdy, now my baseball games start at 10 o'clock at night. I might have to pick a different team at that point.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs moving to Kansas City, I know a lot of people are really mad about it. I can't imagine living in Kansas City and caring about that. I have never understood. I lived in Kansas City for more than a decade, for almost 20 years. I've never understood the Kansas versus Missouri border war. Not once. I've never understood why these two states are so like, I'm better than you. I don't get it. So the fact that the Chiefs are still in the Kansas City metro, they're just on the Kansas side of the line, I don't understand why that's so upsetting to people. What is upsetting to me, and I feel like I'm not seeing as much, is the deal that the Chiefs got from Kansas, where Kansas is basically going to pay for most of, I don't think it's all, but it's the vast majority of their new $4 billion stadium. And the Chiefs didn't promise them anything other than $7 million rent, which isn't going to the government, isn't going to the people, is going to fund repairs and security for the stadium. So really, it's more of an FSA, a flexible spending account, than it is a tax or a rent payment. It is bonkers to me after all the whining I've done about, the community benefits agreement and all this stuff that they should do, that the Chiefs got this deal from Kansas.
Yeah, and if the step-by-step breakdown that really opened my eyes to this is from the Huddle Up Substack social media. Joe Pompliano he's the active Twitter front of that. And the details are it boils down to the fact, hey, Kansas, monetarily, definitely is not getting a thing out of this from the Chiefs. Rather, they are hoping to get some ripple effects from adding the team, and ultimately that border war, being able to say, hey, we took the Chiefs from you. This feels like one of the most expensive taxpayer funded clout chasing moves that I could think of from the Kansas legislature. I'm from Kansas. I would have loved this as a kid. And it's still cool to say, hey, Kansas finally has a notable professional sports team. No offense, Sporting Kansas City, you really weren't that impactful growing up. And it's cool to say that, but holy smokes, I'm an adult now. And I'm more aware of where my tax dollars do and don't go. And I don't love this, especially since fans are still going to be charged an arm and a leg to go out there and watch the Kansas City Chiefs. There's still going to be a premium paid by those businesses trying to be in the mixed use development that surrounds the stadium. And it's all going to go to the Hunts. Hey, good on them for getting this deal. We're already
among the wealthiest owners in the NFL.
Yeah. The rich get richer. That's all this is. So it's frustrating to see that. I think you can I think you can recognize this move for what it is, still be happy about it. And if you're okay with tax dollars going to this, cool, then that's fine. This really isn't skin off your back. And at the end of the day, you can go against the Missouri side of this saying, hey, y'all had a vote on this. Y'all had your chance to say yes, that we wanted to keep the Chiefs in Arrowhead or on the Missouri side at least.
Don't give them that ammunition, Jacob. The vote was correct. The vote
was correct.
Stop giving billionaires handouts.
Yes, correct. And
we all just need,
yeah.
everyone tells me, well, if I don't, then someone else will. Great. We say no, and then they say yes. The team moves there. At least our community isn't suffering. And if we say no, maybe someone else is empowered to say no next time. You got to start somewhere. And if it starts with, Kansas City, the Chiefs move to the Kansas side where you can all still go to the games. Okay, cool. Let's the only thing is, Jacob, in how this affects the Royals is now Missouri is more motivated than ever to give the Royals the stadium deal that they want.
Yeah.
And the politicians have all shown that, okay, yeah, that vote went that way, but we know ways to get this done without a vote, as we saw with the Star Bonds in Kansas. No one voted for that. The politicians just set that up, and Missouri politicians will do the same. The Royals will almost certainly stay in Kansas City, especially as we're seeing, they've got, everyone talks about these 3 primary locations that they're looking at. And the Kansas location has pretty much everyone in the community there saying, please, no, please don't. Which was a big part of the problem with where the Royals were trying to go when they put in the tax bill in 2024, was the community there. I'm trying to remember where that was. The Crossroads.
The Crossroads. Thank you. It wasn't the Washington
at the Crossroads. Everyone was saying, "What are you? No, please, thank you, no." But in the meantime, Union Station is saying, "Yeah, let's keep the Royals downtown. Let's do this over here." So go to a community where they want you, and so I do 100% think that the Royals are sticking around in downtown Kansas City now, maybe North Kansas City, not Kansas, certainly not outside of the Kansas City metro. Y'all are crazy. I lose my mind every time someone tells me they're moving to Nashville. They're not. They're not going to Nashville. It's not happening.
Nope. Nada. Not unless they sell the team, but I don't think they would do that. But the reason why the Royals, so number one, that move put more eyes on what the Royals are going to do now, because previously the two had really been at the hip. So I think that some folks were expecting, okay, the Chiefs have announced something. Are the Royals going to announce something now before Christmas? Hasn't been a whole lot on the Royals front other than the obligatory, oh, it's been great being your next door neighbor for 50 years. But now it's one thing when the mayor talks about it, right? Because he is the political position, that you expect to talk about something like this. Quentin Lucas has talked a lot about the Royal Stadium over the years. I don't know why, but I did find it more impactful when the Union Station social media pages are posting about, and they're lighting up Union Station blue, and they're talking about their support for let's put the Royals here. Let's keep the Royals in Kansas City, Missouri. It is time for downtown baseball. And they're evoking all of these things of the past about why the Royals should go downtown. Can I go on a little bit of a rant? I think you had a little rant. Can I have a small one?
I reckon I'll allow it this time.
I completely fail to understand people who trash talk downtown baseball so much. It's not downtown baseball here won't work, and here's why. It's just downtown baseball in general. I don't want to cross streets to get to my baseball state. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's not that big of a deal. And ultimately, I get it. Owners can make more money. You got more infrastructure right there. Cool. It's good for them. I think it's a better setup for fans too. I am all about walkability. If you think that you can live in downtown Kansas City and walk to Truman Sports Complex, you are out of your freaking mind. Okay? But if I'm the age I am, all right, I'm almost 30. If I'm a guy looking to move to Kansas City, that would be a selling point for me, is having downtown baseball. That's just me. But I also don't get the folks who say it's unsafe. It's worse for fans. Nobody is tailgating before a Kansas City Royals game. That's not the culture. Okay, at least surround it with sports bars or things that are cool to go to before a game. That's just what I think. I know that there's a lot of talk about this Washington Square location that's close there to Union Station. That's very downtown. It would be very visible. If that's what voters want to do, then so be it. But I would really like this to be put up to a vote again, Jeremy. I would say you brought up the star
For sure.
bonds, but sorry, I needed to get. I'm tired of seeing it, man.
It should be brought up for a vote. There should be a community benefits agreement to make sure that the stadium actually benefits the community.
Yeah,
and that there's an agreement about that. Get it? An agreement. Anyway,
yeah, an agreement. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, Jacob, I've been to some downtown stadiums. I've been to Turner Field. I've been to the new Atlanta Stadium, which isn't downtown, but is in a much more populated area than Turner.
Yes.
Or excuse me, than Kauffman. I've been to Busch. I've been to Camden Yards. Let me tell you, Atlanta traffic is bad, Jacob. Kansas City people who've never been to Atlanta do not understand traffic, how bad traffic can be. You do not. I'm sorry. You just don't. No. Traffic in Atlanta is awful, but traffic around the stadiums, not that bad. Not compared to I will never forget being trapped in the Truman Sports Complex parking lot for over an hour after a Chiefs game. The one time I went to a Chiefs game, over an hour I was in that parking lot. I have never had to wait more than 10 minutes to get moving out of a downtown stadium.
No, I've never. And Camden Yards is my bar for no question. It's a downtown stadium. I have no problem getting in and out. I'm sure half the listeners go, "Oh, we walk through downtown Baltimore. Oh my goodness, do you have any care for yourself and your safety?" It's safe. I get to the ballpark, $5 parking. It's awesome.
And let me tell you, Jacob, when there's a baseball game going on at a stadium, there are so many cops around.
There are. There's a lot of cops around there. Feel super safe. Okay, so if there's actual stadium stuff to talk about, I'm sure we will talk about it on this podcast. But I feel like that was our end of year reminder about where we stand on downtown baseball and its potential future in Kansas City.
And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, going on that makes it less and less likely that the Royals would move to Kansas. The Star Bonds would have to get split with them, which the Chiefs obviously wouldn't be happy about. And there was this thing where it needed to be done. They needed to have a plan by Christmas. I guess technically they have until June, but everyone said no, really by Christmas though. So it's going to be in Kansas City.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeremy, the thing that I keep on teasing that you don't know you're going to talk about is this outfield shift stuff that was brought up by The Athletic earlier on in December. This is an interesting, I think this is a point where a lot of fans would be right to say, okay, analytics have made baseball boring, and here is why. So we got all these new rules years ago about the defensive shift because of entertainment value and things like that. But Jeremy, that didn't go that did extend to the outfield, but not in the most impactful manner, is what The Athletic found, right?
Yeah. So in fact, the title of the article that I've been staring at a blank page for over a week on is "What if analytics are making baseball worse?" Because that's been a calling card, a rallying cry for people ever since Moneyball.
Yeah,
is that analytics are making baseball worse. And I hate when this is to go back to tie this back into Vinny a little bit. Is a lot of players, especially in the aughts and the teens, would say things like, "Oh, the analytics say that I'm not a valuable player anymore, but they just don't understand the value I provide." It's like, no, my dude, you're just not as valuable as people used to think you were.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. We have a better understanding now. So analytics aren't ruining baseball that way by properly valuing things. But so there's this idea in gaming, in video gaming, that was brought up by the creators of the Civilization games, Sid Meier, and I forget his partner. And the phrase goes, I'm blanking on the exact quote now. I can't go that far. I don't know. Anyway, to paraphrase, it is, if you allow it, players will optimize the fun out of a game.
Yeah.
And so what they were talking about is that as a video game developer, you want to get, especially in a genre like a Civilization game, I think it's called the 4X genre, if you allow a path to becoming overpowered that isn't fun but does make you overpowered, players will choose that path. And once they find that path, that's the only path they'll choose, because why would you choose a path that doesn't make you as powerful as possible? But it's also not as much fun. So you have to really work at balancing your game in order to allow players to feel powerful, but also not so powerful that all the fun is sucked out of the game.
Right.
And in baseball, what we're seeing now is basically front offices and coaching staffs are have begun finding the exploits in baseball. First, it was, actually, walks are way more powerful than we ever gave them credit for. Then it was, hey, when these guys hit the ball on the ground, they usually pull it. So if we shift, then we're going to pick up that ball and we're going to get more outs that way. And now what we're seeing is there's this exploit of, hey, it turns out singles are really not good. Not nearly as good as doubles and triples are bad. So I don't know if you remember this, Jacob, but back in the teens, one of the things the Royals were doing was having their players, especially their center fielder, whether it was Lorenzo Cain or Gerard Dyson, would play shallow. They were Rusty Kuntz was teaching his guys to play shallow to catch more of those singles and be able to go back on the ball and pick off those extra base hits. Now teams are playing their guys so deep that they're almost on the warning track sometimes.
Yeah.
Because why? You can have a single. Are you going to get 3 singles? Nah, you're going to strike out. You're going to hit a ground ball. You're going to hit into a double play. You hit a double, now I'm in trouble. So they're basically always playing no doubles defense. They turned on the exploit. They went, if you look at it in a video game, you go, let's turn on the no doubles defense exploit. And everyone's back, and there are no extra base hits anymore. The article on The Athletic, that's basically what he's talking about, is doubles and triples have been drastically decreasing for years. And what I find interesting about this is not so much that this is happening, because this is the nature of humans. Whether there's money on the line or not, they will optimize the fun out of a game if they are given an opportunity. And so they've found these opportunities. The thing is that the solution is not to, as some people were suggesting at one point in time, you can't ban analytics. You can't stuff the genie back in the bottle. You have to change the rules of your game. You have to rebalance your game around the new understandings. And so what that looks like is the banning of the infield shift. And they have some proposals in that article that I'm not necessarily crazy about, but might be workable, might be something to discuss. But this is a problem MLB has to address. They have to make rule changes, because otherwise the game is trending towards being boring. It's the 3 true outcomes were already trending, because that was the way to be a useful hitter. Hit a home run, get a walk. That's better than hitting singles than just, sometimes I'm going to strike out now, but if a strikeout's not worse than a ground out if nobody's on, or if there's 2 outs, I might as well try and go for the home run, or see if I can, and if I take a walk, that's as good as a single in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
So, they did all the math, they did all these probabilities, and you're already leaning in that situation, but then you put all the fielders out in the outfield, way deep, and it's like, oh, well now, and you're, also part of that calculus was, if I miss a home run, I hit it off the wall, it's a double. Well, now the outfielders are catching those balls.
Yeah.
But the math hasn't changed, because it's still more impactful to go for that home run, even though it's resulting in more outs, because the home run is a run or more runs. So you're still not going to chase the singles in that situation, because it's still hard to get 3 singles in a row or in an inning. So what you see is more and more outs, period. And you see fewer and fewer exciting plays. Singles also boring. Singles and walks, they're equally boring. I gotta say, they're equally boring, unless there's a runner on second or third. They're equally boring. So if you want to make the game exciting, you need those extra base hits. And right now we don't have those. And I know people hate the rule changes. but it's part of what a healthy sport will do is adjust and rebalance based on these things that are changing. Just like they had to lower the mound, just like they banned the infield shift, just like they got rid of the spitball. You got to change the rules to adjust with what's happening so that you can continue to have a healthy game.
Yeah. All right, everyone, let's talk about drinking and driving, a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI because legal fees, time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
And so the number one, I want to preface this. So this athletic article that we're referencing, one of the most vocal parts of it is Los Angeles Dodgers first baseman Freddie Freeman. And he's a notable part of the players union. And I think that is something to keep in mind because the article strictly says that, hey, MLB is focusing on getting the automatic balls and strikes system out there in 2026. And then they're putting any further rule changes on the back burner until they figure out the labor situation. So this isn't something that we're looking at, oh, well, could this come in 2027? Could this come in 2028? I think this is something much further down the line. But this is something that even notable baseball executive Theo Epstein was talking about in 2022. This is a good portion of this article talking about, hey, guys are playing deeper now than ever, and this is why. And the overall number of doubles and triples is just staggeringly down. Like, it's not a decline that I thought about, but when you look at the way they frame this is doubles and triples together. But since 2007 to now, we've lost 2,000 doubles and triples across the league. Like, that's a lot of those extra base hits. Triples alone in 10 years, you've gone from 939 when the Royals won the World Series to 628 in 2025. Like, that's a big drop there. And I'm sure you could say things like the average MLB fielder's better today than they were then, or they're more athletic.
But for sure.
Yes, I absolutely think that is a part of it. But golly, like, you go back and you watch an entire MLB season. I'm not saying you got to watch every single game from every team in the 162 game marathon, but there were several times I recall this year thinking about, man, that was only that would have been a double off the wall, or that would have been a triple in the corner.
I lost track of how many times I complained specifically about center fielders making plays on balls that I thought were going to be extra base hits. But it wasn't just center fielders doing it. It was outfielders all over the place, and it was Royals outfielders doing it. And it was good defenders and notably not so good defenders that were doing that. You don't have to be an elite fielding outfielder to use these shifts, just like you don't have to be an elite fielding infielder to use those shifts. to get more outs. It's all about, when you're talking about using math and statistics to solve these issues, you're talking about eliminating talent from the equation as much as possible. If you're standing in the exact spot where the ball is hit, doesn't matter how fast you are, you're already there.
Right. Yeah. And so you talk about the proposals, and I think the word that I would describe the proposals from this article, a little lackluster, very imperfect, I would say. But I think they're on the right track when they talk about, okay, this is where outfielders used to stand on average. This is where they stand now on average. Let's get them back to where they were, in like the 2014, 2013 seasons. Let's get them back there. We have this natural boundary with the infield, right? And I think it was Michael Massey this past season who got in trouble with the
first one to get an error by standing on the outfield grass. Yeah.
Right. And something similar for the outfield does need to happen. Now, this is, how do you make it look right without it making it look too clunky? I don't know. But I think that if you tell outfielders, hey, you can't be standing behind this line before the ball is hit, then that is a good start at least. But golly, man, this speaks more to baseball's entertainment value. We've gotten the time down. We've got all these pitchers pumping 100 across the plate with these wicked breaking balls now, and we've also gotten the base stealers. Like we've made the bases bigger, and that I think has helped base stealing. Now let's do something for the hitters. Let's let them have some of their gappers back. Let's let them actually get those doubles off the wall rather than it just being a kind of a normal looking fly out. I like the spirit of this, but it's going to take a while to find a good solution, I think, Jeremy.
Yeah. I don't know what the good solution will look like. I just know that MLB needs to start working their way towards it, and fans should start preparing themselves for a rule change. And everyone complains about every rule change. Do y'all even notice the pitch clock anymore?
I don't.
Do you notice the infield shift ban? I only notice that guys are still lining up behind second base, and it ticks me off. I feel like the infield shift ban needs to get rid of that, because one of my favorite hits is a ground ball right back up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't exist anymore either, and I would like to have that one back too. So you don't like rule changes, but again, they're an important part of keeping the sport healthy. And you can tell me, well, that's not what they used to do 40 years ago, but they didn't have this data 40 years ago. They hadn't found this exploit yet. So you gotta adjust with the times, baby.
Yep. Absolutely. Hey, before we get on to Royals reviews, you keep on teasing this prediction for me in chat.
Teasing it?
Yeah, you keep on teasing this prediction, just like I was teasing this thing that you're going to talk about and going to write about. So now you got to give me something here. What is this prediction?
So I was looking through the Royals transactions, and I remembered the Royals making moves really fast the last two off seasons. But when I went back and looked, really, their moves started happening like the week after the winter meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again this year, right after the winter meetings, boom, 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 signing, trade, extension. So the Royals are keeping that pattern alive. What I also noticed was that the Royals have, for 2 straight years, come back with one or two, it depends on how you look at it, kind of impactful moves from the end of January before the beginning of the season. So 2 years ago, they signed Adam Frazier, which, but they also traded for John Schreiber, which drastically improved their bullpen, even though their bullpen was still awful in 24. Last year, they signed Carlos Estevez right at the end of January. So, and that was a big money deal for the Royals in a lot of ways.
It was
22 million for 2 years for a pitcher. Yeah. So I think this is, if the Royals are following the pattern, and they sure look like they're following the pattern with a kind of the big, like the most important moves they needed to make are done right after the winter meetings, and then they get 1 or 2 more moves right around the beginning of spring training. I think the Royals have got one more big move in them, and I think the Royals, they've already solved their bullpen issues. I think their bullpen's already looking pretty good. They could add another reliever or two. Hunter Harvey went and signed with the Cubs. I kind of wish he'd come back to the Royals, but he got $6 million. I don't know that the Royals should have paid $6 million for him. And there's lots of other relievers out there if they want to take a flyer on somebody to try and add a little bit more whiff to the bullpen. But if this is the bullpen they've got 3 guys you feel pretty good about, and then a bunch of other guys that if they're pitching the middle innings, that's fine. Other than Bailey Falter and Daniel Lynch, we need to be able to move on from them. But worry about that later. Bailey Falter, by the way, here's another prediction for you, as I'm still in the middle of my first prediction.
Yes.
Bailey Falter traded during spring training to a team that suffers an injury or two during spring training. And they're like, we need a pitcher. The Royals will be like, here's Bailey Falter. So I think the Royals have got one more move in them. I don't know if it's a trade or if it's a signing. I know that Bo Bichette still doesn't have a deal. I know that Brendan Donovan is still a Cardinal. Jaron Duran is still a Red Sox. Luis Robert is still a White Sox. These are all moves that I think become more likely as time passes, especially, Kyle Tucker doesn't become more likely as time passes because his dollar value is going up. Bo Bichette has already come out and been like, I'll move to second. Somebody pay me. His market's not going where he wants it to. So the longer he goes unsigned, the more it feels like the Royals might be able to sneak in there with a player option deal. The longer Jaron Duran doesn't get traded by the Red Sox, the more they're going to have to come down off of their asking price. Brendan Donovan, it's hard to read him. His bidding seems fairly high, but I still feel like the Royals are in a really good position on him since the Cardinals are known to be interested in Noah Cameron and want controllable starting pitching as part of whatever deal they're going to do. So that's also a possibility out there. I do think the Royals have got one more move in them. I know that I was stressing, I think you were stressing, Jacob, when the winter meetings were happening and everyone's like, oh, the Royals are in on Lane Thomas and Austin Hayes and Rob Refsnyder and Harrison Bader. And we're like, that's not good enough. And then the Royals did get Lane Thomas, but he's not a full-time player. Then they traded for Isaac Collins, which is a move I think we're both excited about. So just because the rumors now are Austin Hayes and that's about it. I haven't heard any other rumors recently.
No,
honestly.
not recently.
Doesn't mean that's all the Royals are looking at, right? No one said a word about Isaac Collins until the deal was done.
No, absolutely not. That was not something that was on anyone's radar, I think. It just goes to show how opportunistic I think the Royals front office will be if something presents itself.
I gotta say, Jacob, the Royals have really impressed me with their surprise trades for outfielders since no one was saying anything about Mike Yastrzemski before the Royals got him at the trade deadline, and he was a huge pickup. Sorry to see him go to Atlanta. Glad he got paid. The Royals probably shouldn't have done that deal. Atlanta would probably regret it before it's done, et cetera, et cetera. And then they get Isaac Collins. These are guys that were not on any of our radars, but Yastrzemski ended up being a really good deal. I think Collins is going to end up being a really good deal. And so just because you're not hearing it doesn't mean it's not happening. Let's not panic. Let's not throw a tantrum. The Royals have turned me around. I used to be a guy. I wrote articles during the 23 to 24 off season. It was the 22 to 23 off season about how the Royals weren't doing enough, how they needed to be trying harder, at least bringing back a guy like Zach Greinke, at least adding some high upside guys, that I just didn't feel like they were doing. And they've completely turned me around in 2 off seasons as a team that does get stuff done.
Yeah.
Now they didn't get enough done last year, but it's not like they sat on their hands and did nothing either. If the Jonathan India deal had worked out as well as the vast majority of people, whether they're Kansas City fans, national people, whatever, if that had worked out anywhere close to as good as people had thought it was going to, then the Royals would have been a playoff team last year, probably. So, not every move works, but the process is there. And so we just got to wait, another month or so and see what we get.
Yeah.
But I do believe it's coming.
The suspense is killing me, Jeremy. And I will say, Max is he started his own Substack more on Royals history. There are a lot of Royals things to still talk about and still digest, but golly, I'm waiting on that next move. I really, really am, man. It's we'll wait and see. There's still a lot of time between now and when pitchers and catchers report, and that's not even the final deadline.
Whatever it is, I think we're going to be excited about it. I don't know if it's going to be Jaron Duran or Brendan Donovan. Might be somebody none of us have considered.
Yeah,
but I think we're going to get excited about it.
I agree with that. So if you want breakdowns or news as it happens on the Royals front, make sure you go check out royalsreview.com. Jeremy, let me bat lead off real quick on reviews, and then I'll pass the ball off to you. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Mine is, so I didn't grow up a big YouTube kid. I'd go down the occasional rabbit hole, but I didn't I watch this person's every single video, and I still don't have that. Michael McKelvey is someone who comes out with like a video a week who I'll sit down and I'll watch it. It really breaks down football well, not like on a narrative basis, more so looking at the game itself. On the baseball front, there's a lot of good creators out there, but I keep finding myself watching Tread Athletics videos. I know we talk about them a lot. I feel like we've been talking about them a lot ever since Cole Reagans went there and found his success. But watching the process has been fun. Learning more of that terminology that pitchers are using, that pitching coaches are using, is important, I think. And you get a good look into that on their YouTube. I mean, they're super active on social media in general, but their YouTube specifically, I highly suggest someone watching, especially if you're looking to learn more about what pitching is in 2025 or in 2026. Jeremy, over to you.
So this week I'm going to review another video game, my most recent platinum, my 16th of 2025.
Ooh, man.
I think I might get 17 before the season, the year's over. We'll see.
Man,
I've got a couple more days. And so this is a game called Fresh Start, which, if you are, like me, a fan of the Power Wash Simulator series, it will scratch a lot of that same itch. There's no power washing. The graphics aren't terrific, but you do go around with something that's kind of like a power washer, except you have to suck up the water from local sources. You're going around the world to various locales, mountains, canyons, parks, and you're cleaning up. A fresh start. You're fixing the world a little bit, I guess. So like the first location you go to is a little cute little train station that's run by a cat. Why is it run by a cat? Why is it a train station? I don't know. But you go there and you power wash the piles of trash, then you suck up all the trash and you repair things. And like I said, it's not really Power Wash Simulator, but it's got some of that same kind of vibe of there's no health, no time limit. You're just here to just do your thing. And when you're done, you move on to the next thing. And they've got a bunch of different levels that have a bunch of cute little animals all over the world. The one that keeps sticking out in my memory is going to Australia and putting out the forest fires and doing some cleanup to help the koalas. That was a good time. There's a llama level where you gotta knit some hats and put them on some llamas while you're also, cleaning up the garbage around them. There's good stuff. So, and it's cheap because it's a pretty short game. There's a reason I didn't even mention it, and then all of a sudden I've got a platinum trophy on it. It only took me probably like 20 hours to completely knock that thing out.
Gotcha.
So it's a cheap game, but if you're looking for some of that just casual, like just zone out vibe, it'll work for you.
Excellent. I had, when growing up, I never would have thought that I would suggest folks check out a Power Wash Simulator, but now I definitely see the
wouldn't have
allure
either
of them.
until I played it.
There you go.
This is the thing I love about having PS Plus is the opportunity cost it provides for me. It provides opportunities for me to play games that I would not have bought, but which I'm paying this annual fee, so this isn't free, but I've already paid. And is it cost effective in the end? I don't know, but it provides opportunities for me to play games that I would never have intentionally shelled out money for, that I end up falling in love with. The Power Wash Simulator games are an example. The Yakuza games are an example, a huge example of something that I fell in love with because of the cheap opportunity cost. I don't need to convince myself that this is going to be worth my money because I've already paid. I just need to download it and try it.
Yeah.
And there's been a bunch of games like that. Honestly, Kingdom Hearts, which is my first video game love from my teenage years, was an opportunity cost win from a Blockbuster monthly subscription that I had back in the day. So I'm all about reducing opportunity cost with these kinds of things, and I want to share those opportunities with you. I know not everyone can afford PlayStation Plus, so when I find a game like this, I want to shout it out and be like, here, this is worth your money.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the recommendation. Of course, I'm sure we'll have more to come on that front in 2026. 17 Platinum is going to be crazy to hear about. Which one are you going for number 17?
I am almost finished with Ace Attorney Apollo Justice trilogy, which is what I reviewed on the podcast with Minda.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. All right, folks, we're going to get on out of here. Next time you hear from us, it's going to be 2026. So very, very excited about that. Very excited to grow the podcast, grow this fan base, but ultimately be talking about winning Royals baseball in the next calendar year. But as always, go check out royalsreview.com. If you don't want to miss another episode from us, make sure you follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to us at, or you can follow us on social media. Our links are down in the podcast description below. I am Jacob Milham. There, Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, go Royals.
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening. Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy Holiday.